You know, life has this cruel way of testing you when you least expect it. For me, that test came wrapped in a single terrifying word: cancer. God. Just saying it out loud still makes my chest tighten. The endless doctor visits, the treatments that drained every bit of energy I had, losing my hair, losing parts of myself I never thought I'd have to give up. But through it all, there was one thing, one person, that kept me holding on. Michael, my husband, my supposed rock. Every morning, he'd lean over, kiss my forehead, and whisper, "We've got this, together." And I clung to that. I really did. I believed him. I believed us. And it wasn't just him. Our neighbors were constantly checking in, especially Linda. Sweet, helpful Linda from next door. She was always bringing food, offering to drive me to appointments, asking if I needed anything. I remember thinking, thank God for this little community. I'm not alone in this. But you know, sometimes your gut knows things long before your heart's ready to catch up. One evening, I was looking for Michael to talk about my next treatment schedule. That's when I noticed it. His phone, buzzing. Once, then twice, then again. Constant. But what really hit me? He flipped it face down. Didn't even glance at it. Just shoved it away. And in that moment, something twisted deep in my stomach. I tried to shake it off. But you know how that little voice creeps in, and it doesn't let go. Would you like me to proceed with block 2, or do you want to adjust anything? Tone, pacing, more inner thoughts, more sensory details? Você diz, continue. Oh, ChatGPT, Disa, perfect. Let's continue. Here's Chapter 1, Block 2, in first person, following the same tone and style. Chapter 1, Block 2, first person. I told myself I was being paranoid. I mean, stress does that to you, right? Between the scans, the medications, the terrifying waiting rooms, maybe I was just overthinking. So I let it go. Or, at least I tried to. But it wasn't just that one time. No. Over the next few days, it kept happening. The quick glances at his phone, the sudden tension in his shoulders whenever it buzzed, and those moments when he'd step outside, claiming he needed some fresh air, but his phone always went with him. And yet, every time I tried to convince myself nothing was wrong, I'd look over at him. And God, I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that we were still fighting this battle together. That he was still the man who held me when I cried. Who promised me that no matter how ugly this journey got, we'd come out of it stronger. But there were cracks. Cracks I couldn't unsee anymore. Little things. A shift in his voice, a distance in his eyes, smiles that didn't quite reach. Even Linda, sweet, helpful Linda, started feeling different. She was still around, still bringing her famous lasagna, still checking in. But sometimes, when Michael answered the door, I'd hear whispers, quick, hushed tones, a laugh that felt forced, too familiar, too comfortable, and every time, that knot in my stomach tightened just a little more. Something was wrong. Deep down, I knew it. I just didn't know how bad it really was. Not yet. Shall I continue with block 3, or would you like to tweak anything before moving forward? Você diz, continue. Oh, ChatGPT, diz, perfect. Here's Chapter 1, Block 3, continuing in first person, with the same emotional depth, tone, and style. Chapter 1, Block 3, first person. I tried to silence that voice in my head. Focus on your health, Isabella, I kept telling myself. Don't spiral. Don't make problems where there aren't any. God, I wanted that to be true. I needed it to be true. But the signs, they kept piling up. His sudden errands, the way he'd avoid eye contact when I asked simple questions, and then the way he started getting snappy, defensive, like me asking about dinner plans was some sort of interrogation. I started second-guessing everything. Was I being too sensitive, too emotional? Was the chemo messing with my head? Or was my gut actually screaming at me for a reason? I'd catch him staring at his phone with this look, this mix of guilt and something else. And then, just as quickly, he'd force on that same old smile, the one that used to feel comforting, now felt fake, plastic, like he was trying to convince himself just as much as me. But it was that one night, that one specific night, that everything shifted. His phone wouldn't stop, buzz after buzz after buzz. And when I glanced over, I swear I caught a glimpse of a name, just for a second. But it was enough. Linda, my neighbor, my friend, God. My hands turned cold. My heart started pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I didn't know what was going on yet. But in that moment, something deep inside me broke. I just didn't realize how far the cracks would go. Let me know if you're happy with this, or if you'd like me to tweak anything before we move on to Chapter 2. Você diz, continue. Oh, ChatGPT diz, perfect. Let's move on to Chapter 2, the shattering discovery. Here's Block 1, first person, emotional, immersive, and conversational. Chapter 2, Block 1, first person. I swear. I tried to ignore it. I really did. But sometimes, your gut just won't let you. A few days later, Michael told me he was heading out for a quick run. And for the first time in forever, I didn't believe him. Not even a little. The moment that door shut behind him, my hands were already reaching for his phone. I didn't even hesitate. I wish I could say I felt guilty, but deep down, I knew. I knew something was waiting for me there. My fingers trembled so badly I could barely unlock it. But when I did, oh God, my stomach flipped. Right there, staring me in the face, were messages, dozens of them, pages of them, him and Linda, my neighbor, my friend, messages that weren't just friendly. They were intimate, filthy, desperate, like they couldn't get enough of each other. I scrolled. My hands were shaking, but I couldn't stop. I couldn't look away. And it wasn't just the words. It was the timeline. That's what shattered me the most. These messages, they went back months, back to the day I got my diagnosis, back to when I was sitting in a cold doctor's office, sobbing into Michael's chest, thinking that we were about to face the hardest chapter of our lives together, and all that time, he was already slipping away. He was already betraying me in the worst possible way. Shall I continue with Block 2, or do you want to adjust anything? More intensity, more description, deeper internal reflection. Você diz, continue. Oh, ChatGPT diz, perfect. Here's Chapter 2, Block 2, continuing in first person, with the same emotional intensity and immersive tone. Chapter 2, Block 2, first person. I kept scrolling, even though every word felt like another knife to the chest. Pictures. God, there were pictures. Him smiling, her in my kitchen, little comments like, miss you already, and can't wait until she's out again. My throat tightened so hard I could barely breathe. But it was this one message, this one sentence that burned itself into my mind. It's so much easier when she's not home. I swear. It felt like the air was sucked right out of my lungs. I wanted to scream, cry, throw the phone against the wall. But instead, I just sat there, frozen, staring. This wasn't just some fling. This wasn't a mistake. This was planned, deliberate, coordinated around my chemo appointments, around my weakest moments. They waited for me to be gone, for me to be hooked up to IVs fighting for my life, so they could. God. I could barely finish the thought without feeling like I might throw up. The betrayal, it was suffocating. And you know what's cruel? It wasn't just about the affair. No. It was the realization that while my body was fighting to survive, the one person who vowed to protect me was out there stabbing me in the back, replacing me, erasing me, and worst of all, Doing it with someone I trusted. Someone who had walked through my front door 100 times, smiling, pretending to care. I had no idea who I could trust anymore, not even him. Would you like me to proceed with block 3, or make any adjustments before continuing? Você diz, continue. O ChatGPT diz, absolutely. Here's chapter 2, block 3, continuing in first person with full emotional depth, tension, and that raw, conversational tone. Chapter 2, block 3, first person. I don't even remember how long I sat there, staring at that screen. Minutes? Hours? Time just stopped. I kept reading, even though every word chipped away at whatever pieces of me were left. Plans. They had plans. To meet whenever I was at treatment. To sneak around like my sickness was some kind of convenient excuse for them to play house behind my back. She has another session Thursday. You free? Like I was some obstacle they just needed to schedule around. It was like watching my entire world collapse in real time. Everything, every smile, every promise, every "we'll get through this together." It was all a lie. A performance. I sat there shaking, my hands gripping that phone so tight I thought it might shatter. But the thing is, it wasn't just heartbreak anymore. No, something else was rising inside me, something hotter, sharper. A kind of fury I didn't even know I was capable of feeling. And in that moment, something inside me snapped. I realized I couldn't afford to fall apart. Not now. Not for him. I was already fighting one war with my body, and now I had another. A different kind of fight. One I never saw coming, but this wasn't going to break me. Not this, not them. Oh no, they had no idea who they were messing with. Shall I move on to chapter 3, or would you like to adjust, expand, or deepen any part of this block? Você diz, continue. O ChatGPT diz, perfect. Let's move on to chapter 3, from broken to unbreakable. Here's block 1 in first person, keeping the same emotionally charged, conversational, and immersive tone. Chapter 3, block 1, first person. I woke up the next morning. Different. Still shattered, sure. Still hollow in places I didn't even know existed. But beneath all that, something new. Something sharp. Focused. You know that moment when the tears just stop? And what's left isn't sadness anymore. It's survival. That's where I was. I looked around my bedroom, our bedroom, and realized something. I might not have chosen this battle, but I sure as hell was going to win it. So I did what anyone would do when their entire world catches fire. I grabbed a bucket, a digital one. Opened his phone again. Screenshot, screenshot, screenshot. Every message, every picture, every disgusting little "I miss you and can't wait until you're inside me again." God, it made my skin crawl, but I kept going, methodical, ruthless, no mercy. If I was going down, I was taking the truth with me. All of it. And it wasn't just the messages. Oh no, call logs, voicemails. I even went through our shared bank statements. You'd be surprised how careless people get when they think you're too weak to notice. Dinner dates, hotel bookings. Right there, in black and white. Money from our account. My account. Supporting their little fantasy life while I was sitting in infusion chairs, praying for one more year, one more month, one more damn day. Shall I proceed with block 2, or would you like me to tweak, deepen, or adjust anything before continuing? Você diz, continue. O ChatGPT DC, perfect. Here's chapter 3, block 2, continuing in first person, with the same emotional power and razor-sharp tone. Chapter 3, block 2, first person. I'll be honest. Part of me wanted to confront him right then and there. Scream. Throw everything in his face. But another part, the smarter part, whispered, not yet. No, not like this. Not while he still thought he had the upper hand. So instead, I played the role, the exhausted, fragile wife, smiling when he walked through the door, asking how his run was, pretending I didn't know that every word out of his mouth was dipped in betrayal. And while he was busy living his double life, so was I, except mine wasn't built on lies. It was built on preparation. I called a lawyer, quietly, privately, told her everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything. Every screenshot, every receipt, every disgusting little detail that proved, without a doubt, that the man who vowed to love me in sickness and in health had failed spectacularly. The lawyer? She was a shark. Exactly what I needed. She didn't flinch, didn't pity me. She looked me dead in the eye, even over that cold, glitchy Zoom call, and said, "Isabella, you're gonna be just fine. Trust me." And for the first time in weeks, I actually believed it. This wasn't just about surviving cancer anymore. This was about surviving him, about taking back every ounce of power he thought he stole from me. And believe me, I was ready. Would you like me to continue with Block 3 or make any adjustments before moving forward? Você disse, continue. O ChatGPT disse, perfect. Here's Chapter 3, Block 3, continuing in first person, with the same emotional intensity, clarity, and fire. Chapter 3, Block 3, first person. I started seeing things differently after that. Every time he walked into the room, every fake smile, every, "How are you feeling, babe?" It all sounded so hollow, so rehearsed, and the craziest part? He really thought I didn't know. He thought I was too tired, too weak, too broken to notice the cracks. And maybe that's exactly what he wanted me to believe. But oh, he was about to learn something about me, about the kind of woman I really am. Because the truth is, when life tries to break you, you learn exactly what you're made of. And me? I wasn't made of glass. I wasn't made of weakness. I was steel. Bent, sure. Bruised. But unbreakable. I wasn't just fighting cancer anymore. I was fighting for me, for my dignity, for the version of myself that deserved so much more than a man who could look me in the eyes, while stabbing me in the back. And somewhere between the lawyer calls, the screenshots, and the endless, quiet pretending, something inside me shifted, completely. I stopped seeing him as my husband. He wasn't my partner. He wasn't my person. He was just an obstacle now. A chapter that needed to be closed. And trust me, I was getting ready to slam that chapter shut so hard it'd echo for the rest of his miserable life. Shall we move on to Chapter 4, or would you like to revise, expand, or adjust anything before continuing? Você disse, continue. Oh, ChatGPT disse, perfect. Now we move on to Chapter 4, the confrontation and collapse. Here's Block 1, in first person, with the same emotional weight, sharpness, and narrative flow. Chapter 4, Block 1, first person. It was a Thursday. I remember that clearly. He thought I was at chemo, thought I was sitting in that cold, sterile chair, hooked up to IVs, while poison dripped into my veins. But not today. Today, I walked right through my own front door, quietly, calmly. And what I saw? God. It's burned into my memory. There they were, Michael, Linda, sitting in my living room, laughing, drinking coffee like they were the king and queen of this little world they built behind my back. For a split second, I just stood there, watching, taking it all in. Her hand brushed his knee bumped hers, the way they looked at each other, so familiar, so comfortable, like this wasn't their dirty little secret anymore. It was their normal, and I swear, my hands didn't even shake, not anymore, no tears, no panic, just this cold, crystal clear focus, because they had no idea what was about to hit them. I stepped forward, slowly. And when Michael looked up, the color drained from his face so fast, I swear, he looked like a ghost. His mouth opened. Nothing came out. Linda? She nearly dropped her coffee, and before either of them could find the words to lie, to spin, to cover this up, I reached into my bag, pulled out a folder, and laid it right there on the coffee table. Printed messages, photos, screenshots, everything. Would you like me to proceed with Block 2, or do you want to make any changes or adjustments before moving forward? Você diz, continue. O ChatGPT diz, perfect. Here's Chapter 4, Block 2, continuing in first person, with the same fire, control, and emotional sharpness. Chapter 4, Block 2, first person. You should have seen their faces, pale, frozen, like the oxygen had been sucked right out of the room. Michael stammered, I can explain. But I cut him off with a look. Just one look. And Linda? Her mouth opened, then closed, like she was gasping for words that didn't exist. Her hands trembled so bad, she finally set the coffee down, like that was gonna somehow make this less real, less humiliating. I took a deep breath, steady, controlled, and then I said it. The words that had been sitting on my tongue for days. I might be fighting cancer, but at least I'm not the disease in this marriage. Silence, thick, crushing, the kind of silence that feels like it echoes. I watch them squirm, watch the weight of their choices crash down right there, in real time. And for the first time in months, maybe longer, I felt powerful, fully, completely powerful. Then I turned to Michael, the man who stood by me at the altar, the man who promised in sickness and in health, and said, "You need to pack your things. You don't live here anymore, and just so we're clear, the locks, they'll be changed before sunset." His mouth hung open. His eyes darted between me and Linda like he was looking for a trapdoor to crawl out of. But there wasn't one. Not this time. Not ever again. Shall I continue with Block 3, or would you like to adjust, deepen, or expand anything before moving forward? Você disse, continue. O ChatGPT disse, absolutely. Here's Chapter 4, Block 3, continuing in first person, keeping the tension razor sharp, emotionally charged, and deeply satisfying. Chapter 4, Block 3, first person. Michael stood there, blinking. Like maybe, if he blinked enough, this would all disappear, like he could somehow rewind time and undo this. But no, not today. His lips kept moving, silent, desperate little half-words, but nothing came out. And Linda? Oh, Linda had the nerve to try. Isabella, please, it's not what you think. My laugh? It wasn't even bitter, it was hollow. Tired. Oh, sweetheart, it's exactly what I think. And worse. I gathered the folder, tucked it right back into my bag, and straightened my shoulders. And you know what? It felt easy. Easier than I ever imagined. All those months I spent crying, wondering, questioning myself. Gone. Just gone. Replaced by this crystal clear truth. I didn't need either of them. Not their apologies, not their excuses. Not their pathetic little faces trying to figure out how the hell this all went so wrong for them. As I headed toward the front door, I turned back one last time. Oh, and just so we're clear, I looked straight at Linda. You? You were never my friend. You were a snake pretending to be one. And you both deserve each other. Then I opened that door, walked out, head high, shoulders back, for the first time in what felt like forever, breathing, really breathing. Because this chapter, it was over. And the next one, oh, the next one, was all mine. Would you like to proceed to Chapter 5, or do you want to adjust anything before moving forward? Você diz? Continue. O ChatGPT diz? Perfect. Now we move on to Chapter 5, Rising Stronger Than Ever. Here's Block 1 in first person, with the same tone, powerful, emotional, raw, but also filled with renewal and strength. Chapter 5, Block 1, first person. You know what's wild? How quiet life gets after the storm passes. After the screaming, the lies, the heartbreak, there's this silence, but it's not empty. It's peaceful, healing. A few months later, my treatments were over. My body, scarred, exhausted, but still here, still fighting. And slowly, so slowly, my hair started growing back. Little stubborn strands, soft at first. Proof that even after being poisoned by disease and by betrayal, life still finds a way. The house felt different now. Empty? No. Lighter. Cleaner. Like every wall had finally exhaled after holding its breath for far too long. I started redecorating, not just moving furniture around, but transforming the space. New curtains, new paint, things that made me feel alive, vibrant, strong. This wasn't our home anymore. It was mine. A space for healing. For growth, for joy, for everything I forgot I deserved. And something incredible happens when you finally let go of what was breaking you. You start remembering who you were before the hurt. Or maybe you become someone entirely new. Someone stronger, someone who looks in the mirror and thinks, "Damn, look at you. Look how far you've come." And that woman staring back at me, she wasn't broken anymore. Not even close. Would you like me to continue with block 2? Or do you want to adjust, deepen, or shift anything before moving forward? Você diz, continue. Oh, ChatGPT diz, perfect. Here's chapter 5, block 2, continuing in first person, with the same emotionally powerful, empowering, and deeply human tone. Chapter 5, block 2, first person. I started filling my days with things that made me. Long walks in the park, feeling the sun on my face without worrying about who was texting who behind my back. Coffee dates with friends who actually showed up. The real ones, the ones who held my hand when everything fell apart. I even picked up painting again. Nothing fancy. Just colors on a canvas. Messy, imperfect, but honest. And God. It felt good to create something. Anything. That was mine. And then, life, in its funny little way, surprised me. I met someone. Not because I was looking, not because I needed anyone, but because, for the first time in a long time, I was open to laughter, to possibility, to conversations that didn't come with hidden agendas or whispered lies. And he didn't see me as fragile or broken or the woman who had cancer or the woman whose husband cheated. No, he saw me. Just me. And that's when it hit me. I didn't need someone to complete me. I wasn't some puzzle with missing pieces. I was whole. I had always been whole. I just forgot for a little while. Life has this cruel way of making you believe you're less. But standing there, hearing someone say, "You are incredible just as you are," not because of what I'd been through, but because of who I'd become, it was freeing. Completely, utterly freeing. Shall I continue with block 3, or would you like to adjust or refine anything before moving on? Você diz, continue. Oh, ChatGPT diz, perfect. Here's chapter 5, block 3, the final block, continuing in first person with strength, vulnerability, and a powerful sense of closure and rebirth. Chapter 5, block 3, first person. One morning, I stood in front of the mirror, just looking, really looking. The reflection staring back at me wasn't the same woman from before. She had scars now, physical, emotional, but she also had something else. Fire. Strength. A softness that didn't mean weakness. It meant survival. It meant resilience. Cancer tried to break me. Betrayal tried to destroy me. But here I was, standing, breathing, living. I reached up, ran my fingers through my hair, short, stubborn, defiant little strands. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I smiled. Not a sad smile, not a broken one. A real smile. The kind that comes from knowing you faced the worst and came out the other side stronger, wiser, braver. Not because someone saved me, but because I saved myself. And that's the thing. Sometimes life will throw everything at you: sickness, heartbreak, betrayal. And you think, this is it. This is how I fall. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's that you don't fall. You rise, over and over, stronger every time. And standing there, in that quiet little moment with my reflection, I knew, without a doubt, that my story wasn't about how I got broken. It was about how I became unbreakable.